Hey y'all. Ugh. Sorry, I hit a button on my phone. So I was gone for a second. Let me get this all adjusted. Now, I'm going to warn you, like an idiot, for those of you showing up, I did not put my phone, didn't charge. So it is plugged in. It was dead. We're at 4%, but it's plugged in. So I think we're going to be okay here. Uh, if not, I guess we'll see. If it dies, to quote Rocky, if it dies, it dies. This live, to begin, is a live that I do plan on leaving up. We will not be taking this one down like we are a lot of our lives now. And I've never played Animal Crossing, Jimmy. I want some help from you guys in this live. So, and by the way, that cover shot, in case anybody is wanting to know, that is our pastel exanthic, who I think is going to be the next one to lay eggs. Yeah, I just got a low battery, but it's still showing 4%. I think we're going to be good. Maybe Robert Kennedy, but I ain't getting a test, so what the hell do I know? No, I don't have any damn phone. So here's what this video is going to be about. Okay? See this? It's blank. I have this. These are two very important tools of the trade, especially for doing what we're doing here. This is supposed to be about Cajun Critter TV. Really wants to shout out. It's one way to get it, I guess. I may not see all the comments as they come in, so you're going to have to help me a little bit as we go through it. If something's good and I miss it, somebody else repeat it. Let's do this. So what this live video, what I want to kind of keep the topic focused on is we've been really pushing this business series. We've done a lot of videos in that series with a few breaks here and there, trying to break up everything. But we've shared a lot of insight, I feel, on how we run our business, how we got started, and kind of just what we think. Did I just see a Goolsby Serpents in relation to Denzel? If so, that dude was a badass. Uh, hey, I love projectors, Caleb. They're great. But what I want to know, and we'll cover that a little bit too, Matt, is some ideas. Like if you give me ideas, and I am gonna keep checking because I keep getting if the battery's power is going up, we'll be fine. Uh, and that's because it's on the 4G. I really can't control that, Joshua. If somebody else having that problem, let me know because it may be on your end too. If it's on our end, then we can try to restart or do something. Um, what I'm wanting to know is some ideas. If there's anything that we didn't cover in our business series that you would really like to see covered, like a topic that we missed, that we didn't think about. Obviously, there's a lot of questions with the virus going on and how has it affected our business. I would be lying if I said it hasn't. Uh, I don't think it's really affected our business and sales, mostly because we don't have a lot left to sell. We'll put them up on Patreon and go. It's just kind of how it works for us. Uh, the history of python breeding. We could try something like that, but I'll tell you what. Who should do that video is probably Kevin. So, the taxes. Yes, the taxes. So we are going to do a tax video. Let me cover that. We had it set up to do a video with our accountant once tax season is over. Tax season's kind of coming over, but we can't do it right now for obvious reasons. So once this shit clears, we do plan on having a set down interview video with our accountant. He can kind of talk about the different things to set up, why it's important. Obviously, we will recommend him. We're getting nothing for that, but he's done good for us. But you can use one closer to you if you want, and things like that. Yes, Patreon does buy all. We just don't. We don't have a lot. We've released a ton of stuff, and there's a lot of it's gone. So we'll kind of get to that. But mostly that's why I just want to make sure if there's something that you guys want, we'll cover. As far as vendors licenses, guys, I do not file as a farm. My file is an LLC. Uh, I don't think there is such a thing. I mean, maybe in certain states, maybe some licensing you need, maybe in certain cities. But we could do it. And Martok, I'll be honest, my PayPal setup is when I first started doing this on a very, very small scale. I'm getting me a Coke and drinking too much beer lately. I use my personal PayPal, and now I don't have a personal PayPal as a business one. So that's really kind of what we do. The big thing on that is going to be when you run as a business. We could do something like that, John. Best way to spend your $5,000. We'll probably just do the one in the middle, but I like that. Writing that down. Best way to spend $5,000 to start. That'd be pretty cool. We didn't trademark our logo KG, so I had no idea. I mean, this is an American flag logo, not the American flag, but a flag from our history. Uh, just put on a purple background, the wording changed, and there's a lot of shit about people copying logos and then getting all mad about it and saying, "Oh, you sons of bitches, you did this." Um, and Kelly, we'll kind of talk about that with the accountant, I think. So we will cover some of that. Honestly, it's pretty easy. I think we use LegalZoom. So, but so far, what I've got is a history of Python breeding, and then best way to spend 5,000. So those are both good. Especially, I like that 5,000 idea a lot. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great idea. And then while we're kind of thinking of some ideas, I'm going to kind of cover some things that have been going on with us. Somebody did want to know about how the coronavirus affects business. I started to touch on that, and we're not able to ship to the Netherlands. I apologize. And on the sole proprietor LLC brewer, I'll kind of let the accountant, when we get that video, talk about that a little bit because he's probably a better professional than I am on that. So, oh man, punk rocket ball pythons. That is see a salty. That is really really hard to say because that honestly depends on your situation. Truth be told, I mean, like for us, we were still working full time, still are working full time, and if I just jumped into this while working a full time job, it would have crushed me. It would have crushed me, man. I wouldn't have been able to work it to the same efficiency. I wouldn't have I couldn't have done it. But if I didn't have a full time job, then I could have learned this as I went. It depends on the finances you have to invest. There's a lot that goes in it. For us, it was better to start small, than huge, and I think that's true for 90% of people out there. But there are some people, starting small to me was scraping together a few snakes, and then slowly building it. You're talking, spending $400 or $500 honestly to get rolling. $150 on a used ass big ass rack. That was small for me, but what's small for somebody else in a different financial situation may be $25,000. That could be small for somebody else. So it really really depends. And I would like this to be my full time job, but I also got to make sure to support me. And by support me and my business partner, I don't mean that I need to get fancy. It just means there's a certain income I make now from my day job, and if I can replace that income stable and be stable, then hey, I'm ready to do it. That's a big thing. Oh, so maybe just some Anthony, kind of what you're saying is tips to save on supplies. We can talk about that. I got some ideas on there, I can kind of share with you guys on that. That might make a good way there. Cost cutting. Let's make a cost cutting video. We're also working on making our Patreon now. I got some ideas to kind of work that through to try to do. And sorry because we keep touching the screen. It keeps the comments going up. Also allows me to check and make sure that our battery power is going in the right direction. Yeah, and punk rock, if that fits in your situation, that lets you kind of grow easy, and it's great. It's a great way to do it. So yes. Now, so back to the virus and how the virus is affected. Like I said, it hadn't really affected the sales, but it has affected us. There's things we wanted to go do, we couldn't go do. That's been an effect. I mean, in the reptile business and hobby, I still don't know if I'll get to go to any shows this year, like Florida. I really love going to Florida. I've already got it booked, but will I be able to come August? Will I be allowed to? My employer going to let me travel? And there's all kinds of questions there. And virtual tours of our reptiles. I mean, that's what YouTube's kind of for. The thing that it has hurt is, and I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. So I'm answering a question. I'm going to put that out there because I got to start off by saying we are blessed beyond belief in this hobby and in this business, and that is never lost on me, not one day. And I will eventually, probably, but not right now. Yeah, Chad was supposed to be here next weekend, staying with us. Visiting the reptile house. That was part of the Patreon benefit. Actually, I think you got that on the charity auction, and now that's had to be delayed because of COVID. So things like that suck. And then two, our Patreon. And that's what I was kind of getting to. We're very very blessed to have the social media aspect we have, but our Patreon took a hit. I mean, and it did, and that's not. I mean, it's still doing what it needs to do. We're still able to pay everything. And I know it took a hit because there's a lot of people that took a lot harder hit than I took as far as, they're not getting the hours. There's a job loss because of COVID. There's things like that. I mean, I get it. I get it totally because, right? Do you have to? Oh, I'll get to that 1 second. And that's one from Mondo. I'm gonna get that wrong. Mondo Gecko Ruthig. Ruthig? Did I get that right? I'll get to your question because thank you for the super chat. We do appreciate that. It does certainly help because YouTube sucked lately. But you know, so I'm not upset about it because I understand that it's a bunch of people who had to cut some funds, and we're not something you have to have. But I don't want to we're losing money because we're not. So sweet. Well, Anthony, we'll be there right after this. Now, I do want to get to Mondo Gecko Ruthigs. I hope I'm saying that right. Question, and again, thank you for the super chat. He said, do you have to feed hatchlings live and also best cheap rack? You don't have to feed them live. I do find that I have a higher success rate on live. I think it's good to be ready to do that, especially if you're having a lot of hatchlings. Now, according to this year, my year was shit with the move, so what do I know? But in the past, we've had a lot better success getting them to eat with live food over starting with pre-thawed. It's just more natural for them. They're going to see the movement without you being right in there. But is it an automatic must? Absolutely not. For best cheap rack, honestly, you got some options out there. Sea Serpents is probably a more low-cost solution than a lot of the other companies like Freedom Breeder, ARS, or even Tallgrass when Tallgrass is up and running, and let's all hope they come back. Now, would I switch Tallgrass to Sea Serpents? I'll be honest, I would not. I really, really like this design. That doesn't mean that Sea Serpents is junk. It's just different, and they're building it a different way. But that would be a good low-cost rack if you're going new. Also, check out Brace Exotics. A dude actually lives just a little bit down the road from me, and he makes some different things, and some of the style that he makes is going to be in that same Sea Serpent style. And it's going to keep things more cost effective. But, this is kind of it, right? So, I mean, sometimes you are going to get to an extent, like when you pay for certain things, it's going to be a different design. It's just the way it is. So, yes, we are doing great Kingpin Pythons, as good as can be expected. And then, you know what? Actually, Skins and Fins, we just did a video on that and on the two different thought processes. And for me, I think it's better to appeal to a wide margin or a wide market, especially when starting out. So, and then TGR was close at the moment. But I was saying, we wouldn't switch. I wouldn't trade out. I don't plan on swapping these out for anything. I love them, but that would be some economical places to go. So, where is the pup on Instagram? He's been on there. I just posted a picture of him eating ice cream and then one of him chewing his toy. He's still, and that is for those of you that don't know, we have which now I kind of come to find out is probably the most yuppie damn dog I could have got. It's like the YouTube dog to get, which wasn't why we got it. We got it because it fit a lifestyle for us. We have an Alaskan Klekai, which is like a miniature husky, and his name is Mr. Beauregard Jangles, and he has his own Instagram at you can at Mr. Beauregard Jangles Klekai with some underscores and separate the words. Check him out if you want. You ever have a clutch go 10 days long for no apparent reason? Oh, yeah. I don't know if I've had 10 days. I mean, I know I've been in the high 50s, low 60s. Part of it can be temperature related. There's a few things that can cause that. So, yes. And then we have another question that says, I think it's Sierra and O'Reilly. Hope I got that right on the super chat. Oh, an English super chat. Check that shit out. This is starting off 1 male and 3 females. What genes? Well, I'll tell you what. I could go with the Wayback Machine, and if I'm starting it as a business only, and what I would really do is, and it does kind of depend on the snakes you're wanting, but I would start with, and it depends on the cost you're wanting to get involved. So I'm going to give you, if you're wanting to get involved to a project that's going to pay good dividends from a business, make cool snakes from I want that standpoint, and also not be a huge financial leap to get rolling. Year one, so I would buy it over a time. So year one, I'd buy 3 females, okay? And they could come from the same person. It doesn't matter. I would want 3 females that come from different too, that are all het fur recessive I like. If I was into pieds, I'd go pied. Me being an axanthic, I'd go axanthic. You could do clown. It doesn't really matter, okay? But 3 females that are at least het, and then each one carrying a different gene. So like if I was going to do axanthic, let me check that battery life or going up. Good. I might do a pastel head axanthic. It's really not a huge cost snake. I may do like a fire yellow belly head axanthic, and then I may do a. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's a gene you like, pinstripe head axanthic, pinstripe lemon blast head axanthic. Something like that. And then the next year, I'm going to outlay about the same amount of capital I outlaid on those 3 females, buying 1 male, maybe even more. And that male is going to be the visual recessive version, and he's going to also probably carry at least 1 kicker gene or 2, especially if I can have some pastel on the female side and then run the pastel something on the male side. Zebra bee, if you're into spider, would be a great choice here. It's what my favorite male is. And that way, what I'm going to do when I get to pairing, my male gets ready sooner. So by the time he's ready, hopefully the females are ready as well. You can stagger that investment a little bit. And then when you take that male and you're putting it into the 3 females, if you get 6 eggs a pop, 6, 12, 18, those 18 eggs, you should have 9 visual axanthics, and you should also have the rest be het with a very large, you're going to pastel, super pastels, pinstripes, lemon blast, super blast, all kinds of stuff in there, easy to identify, easy to see what you got, and you're also going to get a good return on your investment because of the visuals. So that's what I would do if I could go back in the Wayback Machine. That would be how I would do the 3 females, 1 male. Hopefully that answers your question. And I put my adults in, it depends. My male adults are usually in FP40s. I only got 2 in FP7s because they're huge. My big breeder females, they go in FP7s. I like a little more room than some guys. There we go. So, anyway, we kind of covered how the COVID has affected us. The other thing I wanted to tell you is the room's been a little crazy lately, and this is why we're doing a live. If you're recessive as Clown Tracy, then that's the way to rock that. That would be how I would invest on 4. If I was just going to do 4 snakes, I wanted to get a start. I think it also, when you focus on that recessive gene, like for us, if we're known for anything, we're going to be known for 1, wearing way too much purple, and 2, for axanthic ball pythons, right? Because we're always showing axanthics, we're always talking about axanthics. And if you do that with a certain gene, and a lot of what you produce has that early on, and you know your shit on that gene, you're going to become very known for that gene. So, Ireland, that is awesome. That's just really cool. So I'm glad that covered it. Sorry, I got the name wrong. It's hard. Not just your name, but it's hard. Since you're from Ireland, that's probably, common there and not common here. So, anyway, what I was telling you guys too is, so this house has had a resident actually living in it for the last couple of weeks. No, Question Girl didn't throw me out, but camera guy Kurt was in the process of moving, and there was some snafus on getting the house deal all finished, some holdups, which is all done now. So he is in the middle of moving right into his new home, which is awesome, and got that snafu all fixed up. Not on his end, it was on the other people's end. So, yeah, now we have the house back. But with that, we're doing a live today too, because he's not going to have time to sit down and edit. He's having to move crap out of storage and everything else, because this didn't contain a whole house, the part he was in. Excuse me. So I just purchased a male pastel clown. I'm looking at their pastel leopard het clown or fireless or het clown females for him. That would be a good run. Oh man, I tell you, Wolf guys, he went through hell. It was they were buying a property done a foreclosure due to a death, and the bank sold it, and then the bank was like, oh wait a minute, we actually aren't the ones that can sign this paperwork. It's these people over here at the USDA. So, and they had to wait, and that's what kind of threw everything for hell, So yes. I haven't had a problem shipping. I've shipped several snakes out since the COVID started. As a matter of fact, the last snake I shipped was on Monday. I shipped it from Kansas to California. That is a long, long ways. And what I have noticed, if you're shipping them properly, what I mean is don't cheap out. I know of some people who I've seen or heard of doing this. I hope to God they're not. And if you look at the tiers when you're shipping, there's the priority overnight and then the overnight. If they're doing a hold-up facility, they'll just do the overnight to save $7. Take that priority overnight. In this case, it wasn't a hold-up facility even. And what I have noticed is, yes, I've had hold-up facilities arrive a couple hours late and things like that, but nothing that was too concerning. And it has worked out fine. So ship away. That would be my advice. Feel free to ship. It's going to be okay. So I've shipped pretty consistently. and been fine. But I'm picking the highest tier. And if it would arrive there at 8, the delay is usually it arrives at like 10, and that is an acceptable delay. Uh, but is it a little scary? I think it's always scary shipping. I hate shipping. It's not my favorite part of the business. It always kind of makes me nervous till it gets there. As a matter of fact, last one I shipped out was that beautiful pastel calico that was featured in one of our last videos. So, with otherwise species as. So, do you recommend diversifying your name? I'm not sure what you're asking, James. You have to rephrase that because I'm not sure what you're trying to get at. But I think it sounds interesting because I think maybe you're talking about diversifying your not having a species in your name, but I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for. Uh, we can, Rebecca. We did that video, and honestly, nobody liked it. Like it got really low viewership for some reason, and it's pretty simple. We just get everything from Ship Your Reptiles, or no, sorry, Reptiles to You. I believe it is. It's just saved in my thing, and they've been really good. We buy boxes from them. We buy the snake bags from them. The boxes come with all the foam. Put it in there, and then I buy my tape from a local store here because it says K-State on it, and it kind of sets it apart a little bit. I did check into some custom Olympus Reptiles tape, and per roll the expense isn't that much, but you have to buy it in bulk, meaning it's a large expense to do that I'm just not ready to outlay the cash for. So we'll probably just stick to the K-State for now. And this year, Carly, I don't think so. I think it is Reptiles too. Thank you. Yeah. But we will the following year. My female is just not ready to go just yet. She's kind of probably sitting at 11, 12. I mean, I could push her, but I'm not going to push her. I'm going to wait till she's 15, do right by her. And then we will be doing blackheads, but they're probably a year away. And then what I'm leaning towards right now, depending on how my Suma male does this year, he did produce, we did have our first clutch laid. You'll see a video on that coming up next, so I don't want to ruin the results for you. I'll tell you that now. I was hoping for a little more of what we got, but it is what it is. That was a Suma male, so we'll see if the rest of his produce is what I'm after, and then we'll look on that. Shipping issues resolved or solved. There you go. We fly over the country, right? Dropping off snakes. Do you recommend diversifying species your collection as a business move? You know what? I think we can do an entire video on that. I'm going to get my handy dandy pin out. And, right, what species, how many, diversity, question mark. And I'll cover a little bit here. And I think it is a good idea to an extent. Now, I mean, this is going to not fit everybody, okay? I'll get to that, Matt, a little bit here in just a few minutes. And what I would say on that is when you go to a show, okay, and you find that guy that's got everything. I mean, he's got everything. There's a whole plethora of stuff there. The vast majority of the time, not all the time, he didn't breed those, okay? The vast majority of the time, you're buying from somebody who is likely buying, I'm not going to say they're flipping necessarily, they're likely buying from a wholesale company and then reselling, okay? And honestly, we do own part of a reptile shop. Reptile shop does the same thing. It's buying from a ton of sources and then reselling. That's what they do. Now that being said, I do think it isn't a bad idea to have a couple species, especially once you get your feet wet and you feel like you got a handle on one thing and then adding in something else. In the future, we're not there yet, but I would like to be able to take to a show and have some, I don't know why you're mentioning Chris. That's not Chris I'm talking about. I don't know what Chris does at shows. So that was reference what I just said. What I was talking had nothing to do with Chris. Or you were saying maybe he's on here and I missed it. That could be too. But like, I would like to have ball pythons, maybe some blood pythons, maybe some carpet pythons. It would probably be a very vast majority would be ball pythons. And we may even do some boas. We actually do have some boa projects. They're just not kept here because of IBD. They are kept elsewhere. I likely would probably not do enough boas to do a bunch of shows at them, and have to figure out a way to do it the best, to not to lower my options on IBD. But let's be honest, I mean, IBDs probably pass through mic control, so as long as your boas don't have that, they go back to separate facilities. You're probably going to be as good as you can. Chris is in reference to the video. I'm not sure which video, Wolf guys, um, but yes. And yeah, and it's also good because it does insulate you a little bit. So let's say the ball python market is just getting crowded, which it is crowded. Or you go to a show and you're like, man, I got balls. Everybody else has balls. It's just balls, 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 balls. Well, if you have something else on your table, it can be an attract. It can be something different. Maybe they look at the carpet and they end up buying the ball, which is fine, right? I mean, that's what you want. So we got a super chat I want to cover really quick, which is from Cody. Looks like I'm going to go with Wankir. Wankir. I will say Wanker. Wankir. Cody Wankir says, do you sell off your breeder females often? In one of our videos, you talk about being leery of buying them. And I still stand by being leery, and no, I don't. I've actually never sold a breeder female. And here's the thing. I know you can't see. I have an entire 10-spot rack that's empty, and I have probably 3 or 4 slots throughout here. Maybe not that many, maybe 2 or 3, I don't know, that are empty. So I've got 13 empty tubs. I've got these, which are out on loan right now, but when they're not, it would be another 20 empty tubs. So I've got 30 tubs I can fill. And if I didn't have 30 tubs, before I would start selling females that produce, well, even a normal dropping 8 to 10 eggs, why would I sell her? I could put her through a good male and I could get a good investment return on that. It would make more sense to just buy more rack space. Now, if I get from the point where I'm from that wall to that wall, and from where I'm at there all the way to that wall, and I'm full, then yeah, then I'll start making that decision. But ask yourself this, and this is why you should be leery. And I'm going to tell you straight up, difference is why I tell them I'm going to be straight up with something. I'm going to tell them 100%. Because, when you do what I do with the social media aspect, if you rip somebody off, you're out there. 1, I don't think it's the right thing to do. 2, it's going to come back to bite you 10 times over. I just don't do it. But I want just common sense. If I am filled, I don't have any more rack space, and I have to get rid of, say, 3 females, so I got 3 I need to move up and put in the program. What 3 am I going to get rid of? Am I going to get rid of 3 of my best? Am I going to pick the 3 least producing snakes I have? Those are the ones I'm going to get rid of. I'm going to get rid of those 3. Oh, you mean, okay, Wolf guys, I could say the black pastel cinnamon being the same was the video reference. I haven't watched that video yet. And here's the answer I'm going to give. I'm going to say I don't know for sure, and it may very well be. They're allelic, but there's also a lot of things that are allelic that aren't the same. I do think black pastel and cinnamon have a different look. Now, has anybody gone through and broke down the DNA and said, oh, this isn't for sure a different morph? Or has it just been that we did a good job keeping the lines separate there? And by keeping the lines separate, we have 2 things that consistently look slightly different, with a little bit more flaming and a little bit more darkness here. For me, I don't own cinnamon. I only buy black pastel because I want to make sure I'm doing my part to keep those lines separate. And I think if we do a good job of that as breeders, then it doesn't really matter. And the reason I say it doesn't really matter is if I have a line of something, even if it's genetically connected here, right? Then we know, it doesn't matter if it's the same gene. If it's got 2 separate names, or price are the same. If you can visually see a difference because of the lines have been read from 2 different directions. Okay, hopefully I'm making some sense. And even though it may be, genetically speaking, if you tore apart the DNA of the same gene, you're going to have a different look. It's going to be, in a way, different. I think you have a very good lesson with lesser and butter. Okay, I, for one, will tell you I think lesser and butter are the exact same shit. I've had people argue it with me time and time again, and you can pull up pictures of 30 labeled this and that, and nobody can tell you what they are. Okay, they'll get about half of them right, which is the odds. Nobody's getting 90% of them like this and this. They just don't really do it. But I think had we as breeders been very, very good at keeping them apart, we would have done better. And see, Tracy, I've seen coral glow that people say, oh, it's coral glow, and it's spotted all the shit. I've seen banana. I think we haven't done good at keeping that separate. It's the same gene. Coral glow banana to me is interchangeable. Lesser butter to me is interchangeable. Somehow we've did a pretty good job of keeping black pastel and cinnamon separate. We continue to do so. They're different. If they start getting interchanged, then it's going to not be. It's going to be indistinguishable, and it probably technically would be the same gene if you tore it apart. but visually different makes a difference. I know for sure people have bought bananas, sold them as corals. People bought corals, sold them as bananas. It's just a name. So that line has been so muddied, and and it got really muddy when the guys that got it came out and said, yeah, it's the same shit. That people now will try to say, well, I see this difference in what I'm doing, and so it's different. I can tell you, I can look at an Xanthic I produce or an Xanthic JD Constriction produces. I can look at an Xanthic produced somewhere that somebody didn't put as much time and effort into picking their holdbacks, and I can visually see a difference. It doesn't mean it's a different gene. It just means like some people did a better job, right? So anyway, there you go. So somebody said clown press and morph. Oh, hold on, we got a super chat we got to cover. And it says, trying to start a small breeding business. This is from Aaron Polk, I should say. Trying to start a small breeding business, should I only buy females the first 2-ish years? I would say at least the first year. Sometimes you get a female ready in 2, sometimes a male takes a longer. So year 1, buy females. Year 2, layer in a male or 2. That's what I would recommend, because you don't want to be sitting there and say, well, I have 2 years, I only bought females. I got females ready to go, and my male is 150 grams. So I would say year 1, female, 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 female. Year 2, you can get a mix, but you should probably be picking up a male to make sure, or 2 to make sure they're ready to rock and ready to go. So that's how I would do it. And I did see something on here I wanted to. Do I think, okay, it says clown price on Morph market in Europe, they're in England, appear to be dropping but holding well in US. Do you think this will follow? It just depends. It's all supply and demand, and it's so vastly different on what's been brought over to the UK or here, or other places. I have no idea. I don't, unfortunately. Somebody said, big fan of the channel, living, and they're a Kansas native living 2 hours south of Wildcat territory. That's awesome. I actually grew up 4 hours south of here and a little towards Missouri. So I grew up right on the border there. So this is not my native area either. How does the sex link thing work with the banana and coral glow? Josh, I've had people explain that 100 times, and I don't 100% get it. So I'm a hands-on guy. I didn't get a good handle on a lot of this until I was hands-on. I didn't get a good handle on popping and sexing ball pythons till it was hands-on with a friend of mine named Dave Karnowski. Anybody knows little Scaly Dave? So like you got me, but I'll have an answer for in a couple years. Well, I understand if you have a male maker, he's going to make mostly males. If that male maker pops a female, that female will then make males. It'll be a female maker or make both or some shit. It's weird. But the fact that banana and coral glow both do that, both have the same oddity there, also leads and helps show that they are likely the same gene. Doesn't mean you can't line breed for a certain look. A good example is spiders. I can look at my spiders and know they're my spiders a lot of times because I line breed them to get rid of the spotting. I don't like it. I want a solid barbed wire looking line, a line with breaks off of it. I don't want the spots. Anything with spots gets pushed out of the program. Anything without that can come in. And that is, you will then develop where you're consistently making that. So you can consistently lower the spots in bananas. So if you worked hard or whatever, you're working with. So yeah, it's a sex chromosome linked gene. But how it all breaks apart and how, I don't have that. I can tell you I've hit several female bananas over the years. I've got 2 I'm raising up right now that I produced, all from male makers. So it does happen. Definitely sex them. Don't just assume. So male makers only make females when there is a crossover, which is chromosome mixing. So, yeah. For me. So yeah, what you have to do to figure that out is read the comments, and then you'll probably get it. Me, when I see what I produce, and then with the comments, then it'll all kind of come together in my head. It's just how I learn. I have to do some hands-on or read and then really sit there and think about it. So yes. Amber Will says that she absolutely loves how authentic we keep things on our channel, and that she has learned a ton on genes and business. Thank you. That's our whole point. And yeah, I do believe phantom equals mystic. There you go, Chad. I hear you, and I hate algebra. But I think that the ball python industry, reptile industry, sometimes, and a lot of industries are lacking that authentic, because people feel like if I know something and I put it out there, then I lose something. And I feel like if I know something, I put it out there, and the hobby grows and betters for it. Then people come back to me with what they've learned from what I put out there. I'm going to learn from what they have, and it flows back and forth, and we grow. We don't grow by holding things in. We grow by putting things out. Rebecca, I usually, it's not a set number of days. So what I'll do with my babies is once they shed, then this is the next feed day. We try to feed it. See how it goes. If it sheds on Thursday and I feed on Friday, I'm going to try to feed it that Friday. But if it sheds on Sunday and I don't feed till Friday, it's going to wait. It won't hurt it. I mean, it'll be fine. So what's the best way of identifying what morph gene is in your snake? Thanks you in advance. It's looking at a lot of pictures. Take it to a shop if you've got one local that can help you. And understand that if it was sold as a normal, it's 90% normal. Like that's just the odds. I mean, there's a lot of times we want to find something, but very few times do I see it. Have I? Yeah, I had that speech with a lady. She pulled out some. I looked at some. I'm pretty sure it's a leopard. So I mean, it happens. You know. Yeah. And how do you know if your line breeding project needs new genes introduced? What I would say to that is you just got to kind of have a point where you know this is my cutoff. Like this related, I'm going to bring in new stuff. Because if you wait until a point where you can visually look and say, oh shit, I should have brought in new blood, you went too long. So for me, if I do a sib to sib pair and I produce from that, I'm not going to sib to sib back. You know, would I take a parent and come back? Possibly once, but after that, those things have to be completely outcrossed 100%. Sib to sib, you know, that's okay, especially if you're starting with unrelated parents. Now, I don't want to take a bunch of relations and then have that come out and then sib to sib it. So you do have to kind of just be careful, and I do think we need to keep our gene pool diverse, but I also think these aren't humans, these aren't mammals, and they are wired genetically different than mammals are. And rattlesnakes teach us a lot of lessons. So there's something I find fascinating. They use ancestral dens, so they have had a lot of incest going on for years, generations. But it does come in there and it goes through there. So I'm not trying to skip over you. Sorry, Punk Rocket Ball Python. So it kind of comes in fast sometimes and I miss it. So Joseph, and what he's asked is, can I do an in-depth video on morphs, like to tell the difference between each? There are so many out there that it would be very, very hard. We did start doing some all about a certain morph. We may pick that back up, but before we do that morph, I like to have an example of it by itself and then in combos and things like that, so we can really show that. And yes, they are very resistant to inbreeding compared to mammals. So it's got to be, you know, people want to put that mammal on them, and it is different, but we still need to, as breeders, be cognizant of what we're doing and track what we're doing. That's where tracking comes in as being very important, is so you can, you know, and I've even, when I sold things to before, said, hey, look, you know, these are from a sib to sib pairing. So you're buying two babies, their offspring was, they're, you know, they're a sib to sib pairing. So you need to outcross these. If you're buying two to put together, don't. You know, I put that information out there, so I'm not selling something to somebody and they don't know because I didn't tell them, and then they sib to sib and have problems, you know. So you do, as a breeder and seller, need to disclose that information. Don't know how often that happens, but I do think it's important. So, yeah, and I think a lot of people do that. It's about buying African imports. Any benefit? Oh shit. So here's where I'm gonna get in trouble. Okay. Here it comes. You ready? I don't like it. I don't like it, but I do like it. Here's what I mean. So like, there's going to be new genes that come out of Africa, and yeah, I want to get those. I think bringing those in the market keeps the market healthy. We need those to come in. It's very important for the market. They would pop up randomly in private collections, but not nearly as much. So yes, it is needed for that purpose. But I don't think we really need to bring in an assload of wild type imports from Africa. It's not a price thing. I mean, it does crash the value of a wild type or a normal ball python, but they're not going to have a lot of value anyway. So it's not a value thing. It's why are we, you know, how bad are we raping that natural population thing? And it's really not needed. Um, but if you stop that practice and you say, okay, cool, we won't do that anymore. We'll maintain the wild populations. We'll stop that. We're only going to pull what looks interesting and sell that. You're going to really slow down this because what's supporting most of those places is the day-to-day sales. So I guess I don't have a good answer on that because it's I'm torn in two places. You know, I think if we have one question I don't think we have a very good answer to is how stable is the population there. If it's doing good, we're not doing as much damage to it, but by the same time, we are doing some things. So yeah, they should be, Lindsay, but all of ours eventually came from those same places in Africa. So, but yes, they should be fairly unrelated. But are they really any more unrelated than if you buy some snakes from me and you buy some snakes from a guy in New York? That never even met me. Is it possible we have some of the same blood in our collections? Absolutely, but it would be a very, very small amount. I mean, every human's going to share a certain amount of DNA as well. So I do think, I don't know if it's going to really help the diversity that much, uh, but it does bring in new things. I think we have enough here that we are diverse enough without importing. But I don't know a way to stop the importation of a bunch of normals, a lot of which are going to die, a lot of which are going to come in sick and stressed as shit and get shipped in a box. Uh, like, you know, with and kill the bringing in new stuff. So it's very hard. It's very, very hard. And I've never personally imported a bunch of African ball pythons. I don't plan on doing it. Things could change. Um, so without knowing the exact process, how long it takes to get them in and everything else, it's really hard for me to completely vilify that because I don't have the experience in it either. So there's also the bringing in parasites. That's my big thing. I don't want to bring us from the outside of my collection. I don't. But I also see where if we weren't buying from importers in Africa, things we wouldn't have today, we wouldn't have banana, we wouldn't have uh, pasta, we wouldn't have anything. I mean, it all came from there for the vast majority. So it's hard. Uh, and we may, Anthony, we very well may, but we may. I don't know. I mean, they're going to mutate. They're going to mutate. Um, it's a conundrum. How about that? I don't have a solid answer. I'm willing to admit that. When I solve that, we'll solve the debate on abortion at the same time, right? How do I feel about the Scales project, Aaron? I'm gonna guess you mean the Scales projects. I'm okay with it. I know a lot of people aren't okay with it. I think it's absurd to not be okay with it. Here's why. What we're seeing with scaleless ball pythons is pretty similar to what we're seeing with any scaleless snake. So if you're against scaleless as a whole, okay, okay, I get it. You can be against it. You don't have to like them. Maybe you think we shouldn't really produce it. I get it. I get it. It's kind of like people think we shouldn't produce spider too, and they're free to that opinion. You know, uh, hopefully they get knowledge on both sides. This would be my request, and then it comes to an opinion with all the knowledge possible. Still open to change. My mind's always going to be open to change, even on scaleless or spider. But when it comes to scaleless, I don't own any scaleless corns or rats, but I've been around them. And they don't really seem to suffer from anything. I've been around. I actually own a scaleless Western Diamondback. So with that, you know, I've got a scaleless snake, and it's not one I can help shed very easy. It's fucking rattlesnake, right? So, and it will get some skin stuck. It will come off. It's really kind of a weird thing, but it does cause rougher shedding. I have to keep my rattlesnake very moist, which is unusual for a Western. So I do think, and that's okay too. It's one way. That's okay. I don't want to say anybody's wrong for being against something. We're all able to have our opinions, and if the market was completely against it, the project will die off because if there's no way to sell them or move them, you can't. People will talk about, well, you shouldn't produce spiders. Well, I produce spiders because I like spider. Well, if spider couldn't sell, I wouldn't keep producing because I wouldn't want to set out 1,000 spiders, right? So anyway, back to the scaleless. So I think it's okay. They do look different. If you ever get to see a ball python scaleless, they're going to have what looks like this scar running down the middle of them. I will tell you that same mark would be on other ones. It's just another development. They develop a little different. So that's just normal. It's on your ball python now. If you were to take all the scales off the ball python you have, they're going to have that same suture look. I remember things were going to pop open, and shit like that. That's just not going to happen. Uh, are they more susceptible to cuts and scratches and infection? Yes, they likely are. You have to watch their shed a little bit. Yeah, as a matter of fact, Daniel Allison, Constriction Addiction, had a great video series about caring for scaleless, when it comes to scaleless ball pythons, he's got a lot of knowledge because he's produced quite a few, got into it very early, and he even has some things to help them shed and go through. So they do take a little more work. You got to be willing to put that into them when you get them. I mean, I don't plan on keeping a whole assload of scaleless. I have a few scaleless projects I want to see through, so I will work towards those. And I'll probably have 2 or 3, eventually that I keep that are visual, that I just want. I'm not going to have 30 because they're a pain in the ass. So there is that. And I think as a seller, if you're selling a full scaleless, again, you need to have that conversation just like you do with Spider. That yes, there's a few things you got to watch out for. They take a little bit more work. Tracy, the way I describe a scaleless snake, and the one that I've had my hands on the most. If you look, there is a video of me playing with or getting to touch and mess with the scaleless pastel out there. But the scaleless, I don't know scaleless corns and rats, of course. But the one that I have the most experience with is my Western. And usually I'm holding it just on the tail. I have some hooking and tail methods. You guys have seen me do that. I'm not free handling it. So, it's a little different. And what I tell people is if you're a guy and you wake up in the morning, one of the first things you got to do, right, is drain the bladder. That is a very similar experience to holding the scaleless. I mean, it's, unless you touch the spine, it kind of feels like a penis. That's horrible to say, but very, very true. Yes. And no, I do not think Super Spider is possible to keep alive. Personally, I feel it is a lethal combination. I do not recommend, nor do I breed spider to spider. I've had a few people ask about the racking system now that TGR is gone out of business. I don't know. I can tell you this. I've talked to several people who have reached out to me that are, I'm not going to say names yet because they're not there yet, and they're going to have to get their feet wet at a slow pace. Who are thinking about trying to fill the niche that this filled, niche, if they're gone completely, and build something somewhat similar with a few changes that they would like to see, and kind of fill that. And so I'm kind of going to wait and see what gets produced there. Obviously, for those of you that don't know, some of you are probably thinking, well, with that, what is Olympus's loss? Because it was a sponsor. They were a sponsor of us, and they were a very good one. And I know not everybody had a great experience, and I'm not going to kind of get into that right now. But and I can tell you, Eric helped me out a lot when I was new, and he started working with our channel very early on, right? And with that, what we found was that it was a beneficial deal to us. We really liked the racks. The Gen 1s had some issues. We talked about that, and when the Gen 2s came out, they were damn near perfect. And when the Gen 3s came out, had a few little additions, and they looked prettier. And he was working on some new things before this COVID hit. That would have been really awesome. So it's very unfortunate. But if we have to go in a different direction, we will find that. We will share that with you. We'll talk about it. One thing we may try to do is reach out to multiple companies instead of having just one sponsor. Because what we got for that was basically discount off of our equipment. Okay, so we got our equipment at a better rate for every video we did, and we got a little bit towards equipment. We were not getting a check, or we were not getting paid. That wasn't how that was working, for full disclosure. And we will probably not necessarily do that again. I mean, if a company reaches out to me, and whether it's racking or something else, we'd certainly look into it, but I'd never take on a sponsor I didn't believe in. I don't think that's right to do. Obviously, we probably wouldn't take on another rack sponsor unless it was TG because, well, I mean, they would want us to have all their stuff, which would be understandable, and I don't plan on doing that. I like these, and I don't plan on getting rid of them. Unless somebody just, we'll give you everything free, and then if it was good enough, we might consider it, but I'm not in a spot where I need to do that. What we probably will do is possibly reach out to a multitude of companies over the next year. I haven't done it now because I don't think now is a good time. I think now reach out to companies is a real bad idea because they're trying to just make sure they stay afloat. And my goal is, because my biggest thing with losing TGR, and Nicholas, I'll get to you in just a second, I promise, is not that we lost a discount for us. We lost a little bit for us. It's that I thought one of the big things for Patreon was having that 10% off. Like, I thought that was a big deal. And of course, that's going to be lost. And that's what hurts me the most. So what we will probably look to do once COVID clears, I can reach out to a few places, is try to get a multitude of companies that are willing to offer a discount. Not necessarily sponsor the channel. I'm not so worried about that. But offer a discount to my Patreon members. And maybe try to turn Patreon into not just the video benefits and everything else, but like a discount savers club if you're on it with a rotating password that'll work for all the companies. That'll change every so often. So you have to stay current on there to be able to keep it. That is something we're looking towards. Will I be able to do it? I don't know. But in a perfect world, I may have some different racking companies on there. I may have some different equipment companies on there. That would be say, yeah, we'll give this discount if they're a member. And then of course, like if I did racking companies, it'd probably be like one that makes a certain kind and then one that makes a metal kind. If I did a feed company, it'd be like one frozen rodent company. So I wouldn't have all the competition on there. So they would have a benefit of business being pushed their direction too, if that makes any sense. But that's a direction we're looking at trying to go in. That was some future planning you just pulled out of me that I was planning on kind of keeping close to the vest. I don't know if it'll work yet. Let me get to Nicholas Irish's video. Nicholas Irish's comment, because he did give us a super chat. Thank you very much, Nicholas. I really appreciate it. It definitely helps. It helps because Patreon ads sucked. He says, always watch your videos. I have a bumblebee female ready to breed next year. Excuse me. I may have the COVID. Actually, I have some allergies. I've been wanting to mix OD with her. What type of OD male would you suggest? Well, if you're going to bumblebee, definitely avoid spider because you've already got that in there, right? And then what I would suggest is if I was going to do OD man with a bumblebee, if I could get an orange dream fire, that's what I would like to see with it. The reason for the fire is when you don't hit the orange dream, that fire with the bumblebee would be great. In a perfect world, it'd be a firefly orange dream because then my bumblebee, I'm going to have the killers, right? I'm going to have the fire in there with the killers when I hit it, and I'm going to have the orange dream floating around. I think you're going to make some really beautiful, clean animals. So if you can swing it, that would be great. Oh yeah, if you do calico, orange dream calico would be very pretty. Calico would be great in there as well. So that's actually a really good suggestion. Don't go calico on the one side because you'd have spider to spider. But if you went with an orange dream calico or an orange dream fire calico or an orange dream pastel calico, the shit you'd make on the back end would be just awesome. Let me show you one. It's in a good mood. This doesn't have orange dream. Where are you at? That ain't you. There you are. So this doesn't have orange dream in it at all. Now, if it had orange dream, it'd look even better. But if you ran your calico, even if you just hit a bumblebee calico, look what you're going to get. So I think that the calico idea was actually better than mine. So definitely get orange dream the calico if you can find it, and maybe an extra pastel gene. This, for reference, is just a spider pastel calico. So another pastel gene in there, or an orange dream in there, or anything else would kick this up a few more notches. All right, I'm coming back. Sorry about that. I just wanted to show that off so you could kind of get an idea of what he'd be looking at it. They're both good. I've got more experience with Herpstat, so I'm going to tell you to go Herpstat. Herpstat's also worked with us before. I really like them, but I don't think Vibranium Electronics sucks or anything. I'm not going to badmouth them. I prefer those. Hey, Seuss, what's up, buddy? Long time no see. Out of curiosity, if you were to pair a visual recessive with a visual recessive out of, say, 6 eggs, how many would most likely be visual? Oh, well, okay. If you do a visual recessive to a visual recessive, they're all going to be visual, as long as they're the same visual. We're talking, exanthic to exanthic, pied to pied. They should all be visual unless you're in a retained sperm situation, every single one of them. So you got no problems on that. Now, if you were doing 2 different recessives, like a pied to an exanthic, you're going to have all 100% double heads, but nothing visual. So. And Yellow said they love how it's like on every Mexican restaurant I've seen, authentic Mexican food. I love how authentic you keep things on your channel. I have learned so much on snake genes and business. I just want to know what's your favorite snake gene. My favorite snake gene is definitely exanthic. I fell in love with it. It was my first love as far as a morph goes, and that's what it is for me. So I love those things. But yeah, like companies, like Herpstat, they did a discount for a short time. Drew, I'm sorry you can't hear anything. I know other people haven't had a problem, so it might be on your end. I don't know. You might have to kill it and reload it, but I'll be honest, we're probably getting close to the end here. So, really quick before we do get over here, because we've been at this for 55 minutes, I've got several more business videos ideas, including a history of ball python breeding. We might be able to do that. Taxes, we'll do that when we can. Waiting for COVID to clear. Best way to spend $5,000. I like that one. And then tips to save on supplies, cost cutting, and then what species, how many for diversity. Is there anything else that you can think of that would be a good business video? We'll toss it on here. And then I'm going to slide over to Patreon and talk a little bit there and do my work on that. So, yes. Any lightning pies? We have not. Our double recessive projects, we've pushed towards snow. Dude, I have sucked at hitting double recessives. It's just escaped me. We pushed towards snow, and we've also pushed towards true ghost. The only double recessive I actually have gotten a chance to hit, I hit on complete accident, and it was a fucking shit show. And that was a caramel clown. Sorry, a caramel clown, which we didn't even know we had caramel on the male side. It was only a possibility on the female side, and we nailed it. So, you still can't get PayPal to accept Patreon. I don't know how well PayPal does with that. They may be looking at us fraudulent. I know cards do good, but you may just have to force PayPal or call them or email them, and they might tell you how to make that work. Breeding safety, not overworking the males. Yeah, that would be a good one. We'll call it responsibly versus just profit. You know, and I'll admit, and I've talked about it several times over the last 6 months, we overworked a male. I didn't intend to, but you learn as you go. And I honestly think that my overworking him probably did lead to his death, which sucks. So, yeah, issues with eggs. Oh, I know we had so many damn caramels, didn't we? We might be able to do an issues with eggs as we go through this year. If I can get some things at different levels, we'll probably talk about that as we go through. So, spreading germs during breeding. We could probably try to look at that. We'll probably kind of work that into the breeding responsibly. That would probably be a good spot for that. Yeah, Wolf guys, just keep working. I mean, I'm not going to tell you it looks good, but I've seen some crazy shit. Challenges. Okay. Overcoming. How do we call it overcoming? Let's call it overcoming. Because some of them you're not going to overcome, right? One is keep an eye on his weight, keep an eye on his size. This will be the last thing we get to is this male question, which is what to do with a male that's not eating for a long time. You know, oh, that's good. 7 eggs, huge. Can't beat that. Whew. And, you know, if you have RI, you're probably going to need a vet visit or at least a call to get some medication. I mean, you can try the F10 solution I think they use, they put in there, but Baytril tends to be one of the best ways to do that. But back to the one question I wanted to answer, and then I'm going to go over to Patreon for a bit. It says, got a male that won't eat after a lot of trying, what would you suggest? The first thing is, it may be just normal. Like if it's breeding time, the males sometimes aren't going to eat. So keep a view on his body condition. If you don't think his body condition is up to snuff, rotate him out of the breeding program. I've done that a lot. And the thing is, so if the F10 worked for you, Tracy, that is awesome. I might try some out sometime. If you rotate him out, what I did when I failed on mine is I rotated him out. He got back taking a few meals, and then I rotated him back in too quick. So I was too quick to push him back in, and I pushed him back in pedal to the metal. Don't do that. You know, of course we're going to go to Patreon. Every time we do a live, we'll do a live on Patreon. So just try ASFs, try mice, small meals. Small meals a lot of times will get them started. So look for that, and just don't continue to breed him if he's losing size. So that's where I'd be. All right, guys, let me hop off of here so I can sign over to Patreon. And I appreciate all the super chats, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it more now than ever because I do know that, you know, now for a lot of people, you know, a few bucks means a lot more than it did 4 or 5 months ago. So I do want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who did a super chat. I appreciate it. So thank you. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.